Hi, this is Pete Gary with the Boca Voice, and welcome to Fact or Fiction Friday. Today we're here with Andrea Levine Rourke with the city, who's running for the City Council of Boca Raton. Thank you for joining us.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Now you're going to be running for City Council in a very tight and crowded race, actually, because 3 other people are running. Tell me, why are you running for City Council?
Why am I running for City Council? So that is the question of the day that I get all of the time. I will start actually by giving you a little bit of history. I have a passion for this city. I moved here 37 years ago. Was in Florida for 45 years ago, but found Boca in 1979. I raised my family here and actually lived in the West Boca area for the first 20 years. And then became an empty nester, and we moved to the downtown area around Meisner Park 17 years ago. So when I was here in the earlier days, I had my own business and ultimately sold that. I was a member of the Chamber of Commerce at the time, and then went to work for the Chamber of Commerce. During my time at the Chamber was when really everything was changing, especially in the downtown area. That's when the CRA, Community Redevelopment, got established. That's when Meisner Park got approved and developed.
Can you identify, would you mind doing me a favor and just identifying for the listeners what CRA means? Because some of the listeners may not know what CRA means.
Yes, so the Community Redevelopment Agency, which is what that acronym stands for, is something that gets established in what would be a blighted area. And at the time, downtown Boca had the old Boca Mall. Some old timers may remember this.
I resemble that remark.
So do I. And it was quite a blighted area and really needed to be seriously looked at and redeveloped. So they incorporated a whole area that is now what we call the CRA.
Sure.
So that got me very involved in things that were going on in the city. This was back in the mid-'80s. And from there, I was an advocate for Meisner Park, and I think actually that's a beautiful model for urban development to me. We can talk more about that another day.
Sure.
And from that, it got me really interested and involved in community service and community activities. And I have been a chair of the Federation of the Boca Raton Homeowner Association. I have served on the Downtown Advisory Committee. I have I actually co-founded my homeowners association and served as a captain on the Boca Raton Bowl for 3 years. I have been on the Crime Watch for the Boca Raton Police Department Board. So I got very involved in civic duties and serving my community. I also would like to mention that I've been a mentor to children for the past 15 years. So I have 2 gals that I have mentored from the time they were 5 and 6 years old, and they're now 19 and 20, and I'm working on getting them into Palm Beach State College. Also went to FAU in the middle of all of this and got my degree, and I'm a proud owl. So that brings me up to current, and because of my involvement and my activity, I felt I needed to take my service to a higher level. I have been an advocate for the residents of Boca Raton. I have spoken out numerous times at City Council, doing my best to be the voice of reason and giving examples of what visionary, collaborative, placemaking, important ideas that need to be considered when you're developing an area.
Great. So let's talk about that. Boca Raton, there's 2 fractions on development in town. It seems like people like to argue for the sake of argument at certain points, and I mean, I don't like to use an old adage, but sometimes they argue. If you say the sky is blue, they're going to argue whether or not the sky is blue at a certain point. What are you going to do in regards to bridging that gap with the developers, the residents, and City Hall?
Okay, so there's so many things I could say to answer that. First of all, as far as the developers go, we have codes and we have laws, and we have been giving some special privileges away. If the developers build according to the laws that are put on our code books without asking for deviations and variances and additional density, I think that would be we need to do that to start with. I think that the residents, there has been divisiveness that has been created, and I think it's because there is a lack of feeling that their voice has been heard. I think the collaboration is very important. You can't move forward. Or you look at other cities that have good urban design, there has been collaboration with the community and the neighborhoods, whether it be a downtown or a new midtown that's coming to be. You have to draw in the people that are living by the area to collaborate and be a part of the process. And people have to remember that we are a community made up of people. The residents of Boca Raton are at the very top of the organizational chart. I am here to represent the citizens of Boca Raton. I would like to be a voice for the citizens who have felt that their voice has not been heard.
That's great. So moving beyond development, what's the next issue that you stand for that the citizens and the residents should know that you're going to do at City Hall?
Well, when I'm out talking to people in the public, I get to talk to a lot of families. We have a lot of families here, a lot of young parents. Schools are very important to them. My daughter went through the public school system. My grandson is now in the public school system. So that is something that is certainly at the top of my priority list. We are Boca Raton. We expect the very best in services. I would work very closely with our fire department, our police department to make sure our services are good. We want to make sure that we stay economically healthy and viable. We have 3 wonderful universities. We have a wonderful hospital. We have a research park on the grounds of the university and a tech center with tech runway and incubator businesses starting up. I think we need to really focus on that, focus on corporations coming to Boca, focus on working with our students coming out of the universities to enter these high-tech industries and perpetuate that. So aside from the development issue, I see really looking at things that will help our city be healthy and viable.
Great. What are some of the other, when you look at some of the issues that have been running around town, I mean, you have the wildflower property, you have the Midtown property, you have the golf community that's happening right now. What do you think, as you going into city council, that uniquely qualifies you to spearhead some of those?
I think that is the one thing that makes me completely unique from my other opposition. I am the only person running for my seat that has stood up and really been a voice for preserving green space. You can't continue to build without having respect for having green space remain. People that are going to be filling the new buildings and the new properties have got to have a place to have leisure. So I was an advocate for preserving the publicly owned intercoastal waterfront property. That definitely stands me apart from my opposition. And I didn't do it with the idea of having just a passive park and just people hanging out there for no reason. I had a vision, and I've put this forth many times publicly, and I've written about it in essays, about an urban public waterfront with an active paddle boarding, kayaking, things that are going to bring people into the downtown. I think it would be a boom for economic development. And interestingly enough, when that vote was on the ballot for the wildflower, it was not the wildflower, it's all the waterfront properties on the Intracoastal. The highest voting precinct to preserve that was the FAU student voters. Mm-hmm. So the young people would like to preserve property, land that they can use for recreation and activities, and we want to have a legacy for our children and our grandchildren, and you just can't put up buildings and not have a beautiful place. And I'll add one thing to it. We've been lucky enough to travel to other cities around the country, outside of the country. You look at urban waterfronts and you see active urban waterfronts. You don't see one brick and mortar type building basically blocking a waterfront. We can do a comprehensive waterfront plan that connects all of our intercoastal waterfront properties, whether it be Red Reef Park or Gumbo Limbo or Lake Wyman that's going to be restored soon, Spanish River. This can all be interconnected, and the wildflower property can be a center for getting people into the downtown area through that comprehensive plan.
Okay. So, Andrea, tell the voters and tell the residents what else they should know about you when they come out on March 14th to vote that they don't know right now.
What I can tell you about me is that I will do whatever I can to work for the residents of Boca Raton. The residents, The Boca Raton is made up of a community of people, and I am here to represent the people of Boca Raton and be a voice for you.
Thank you so much for joining us. I appreciate
It
you
is
taking the time.
my pleasure.
Thank you for joining us at the Boca Voice. Make sure that you follow us at thebocavoice.com and on Facebook. We appreciate you taking the time, and we look forward to seeing you next week on Fact or Fiction Friday.